Hey, Happy New Year! Here we are back with our very first episode of 2024, and it is a really good one. This is the Wedding Capture Co. I'm Tom, and this is Chris, and we also have a guest, our first ever guest. So yeah, a brand new year and a brand new format for it. We have got our first guest in the wonderful Kirsty Mackenzie. She is the queen of styled shoots as far as I'm concerned, and so we've got her along to talk about that subject. We dive into why she does styled shoots, are they important in your business, and whether a video has a place at styled shoots, and also content creation. There is so much in here about the idea of styled shoots, workshops, portfolio builders, and really can't wait for you to jump into this one.
Okay, all right. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2024.
I feel like we've come forward in time. Yeah, we're not actually recording in 2024, but at the time this goes out, it will be January of a new year.
Yeah, it's weird saying it already, but...
I feel terrified and excited all at the same time.
Yeah, well, I'm
ready.
still... Yeah. Most videographers, to be fair, when we're in January and February, we're still in the year before. You guys, I guess... Well, I don't know how your editing's looking, Kirsty, but I know that you like to get yours done before Christmas.
I always like to get one done. I feel like I can't have, be mentally present in the new year until if I've still got jobs from last year hanging over me.
Yeah,
I
feel
think
like
for photographers, there's definitely more of a deadline, and I think for couples as well, they're like, oh, we can have our photos for Christmas.
Before Christmas, it's
so
like
the
it
family
becomes this
over,
big deadline, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of better if you just accept it and just be like, it's not getting done before Christmas. Basically, I tell couples beforehand, I'm like, it's probably going to be after Christmas, just so that you're not saying
you're telling them that they're wedding in August.
Actually, yeah. All right, don't start.
But anyway, I guess we should also address the fact
it's a big day.
Obviously that we haven't gained a new permanent member of the podcast, or maybe we will after today. Who knows? But we have got our first ever guest, which is really, really exciting, and I'm really, really happy to say that it is the lovely Kirsty Mackenzie as well. Kirsty, say hello.
Oh, hi! Thanks for having me.
That is exciting, isn't it?
It's really fun because we've been doing this obviously, a year,
almost
pretty,
a year,
pretty much now. And the idea of having guests was always on the table, and it was kind of like we want to get guests on. Then we were kind of never really had a conversation of who we wanted, and then as we kind of got, we need to get to that point where we do get a guest, and somehow both of us pretty much had the same idea that we both wanted to ask
100%, yeah.
Without
you were the first that come to our
really?
minds. Yeah.
Both of us, you were the first person that came.
I think when we started it, we sort of listened to other podcasts that had guests on, and it was a bit like, oh, it's just like the podcast has a formula. It's the guest comes on, they talk about how they started. Oh yeah, I photographed my friend's wedding, and it's just like it got a little bit repetitive. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, to get guests on, we need to make sure we're doing it properly. And so we'll create our own little thing first, and then get somebody on. And like I said, like Tom said, we both wanted to get you on in particular. And I know we spoke to you about it, and at first you're a bit like, oh, is a podcast going to be interviewee and quite, you know.
I don't know. I guess I'm not used to microphones and feel like I don't articulate and probably say a load of shit I shouldn't, but...
You've listened to this podcast, right?
I have listened to this podcast,
so
and I love it.
You feel like you're in safe company then with people that...
I do love it. I love listening to you guys chat. And when you were it's a bit more informal and we've got a topic to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
And I think that was one of the other main things, we listen to a wealth of podcasts, as I'm sure you do as well, is that I feel that once you've had guests that do the rounds, if you like, once I've heard what they've got to say about how they started or how they got into the industry or talk on that point, is that a lot of the stuff they say on or any of those podcasts is they're just retelling the same story to a bunch of different people. So the podcast then that I do tune into regularly, I'm like, oh, I guess I know kind of what I'm going to get. So I'm hoping that, you'll be the first of many guests to come on. But obviously me and Chris know far from everything at all. So the idea of having a topic like we do every week, but then bring someone in who is marginally more knowledgeable about a topic than us to go over that is the idea. That's why we want to bring a guest in, to add value rather than particularly tell us their life story.
I'll try my best.
I think this is a really interesting one as well, because this is we've had a couple of episodes that are a bit more photography focused. That AI one was very photography focused, unfortunately. And
Chris is upset about that.
But I feel like I'm in my
there's not really that AI video yet.
By the end of the episode, I was literally just like, oh, Tom, can we just end this one now?
So I can edit to it.
You just stop talking about it.
And there were actual tears.
I can remove all of this and do all of this stuff and get it to cull for me and edit for me.
Yeah.
Chris is just I hate you.
Tom was having a field day. But at the same time, I like asking questions and learning things about things that I didn't necessarily know. We always talk about what we're doing throughout the year and what we do during certain parts of the wedding day and stuff. But if there's something that I'm really interested in, why a photographer would do that or that, it's it makes this a learning experience for me as well. So
I find that kind of stuff fascinating, to be fair. I love hearing about videographers and how much of a different kind of world it is in a way.
Yeah, exactly, because you're working with them all the time, and like to know how they're thinking about a certain situation is good. But I know this is the worst question ever, but like tell us who you are, what you do, what's your brand, what sort of weddings do you film, photograph, that sort of thing.
Yes, so my business is Kirsty Mackenzie Photography. I've been shooting and working in weddings for over a decade. My brand is quite colourful and fun. I shoot kind of quite modern weddings for couples who want to have fun and have a nice relaxed day. I think that's everything.
Yeah, I'd say
I think it's covered it
pretty much
well.
sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah. But you do lots of other things as well, which I'm quite interested in. Like I've bought one of your products before as well. Like, so you sell.
Have you used it yet?
In a way, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you sell like Canva templates and things like that, right? So I've personally bought one of your. I think it was like a big. Is it a booking? It's not a pre-booking brochure. It's like a welcome
like a
pack, isn't it?
The welcome.
Yeah,
pack,
I bought the welcome pack. Yeah. But I've like deconstructed it into sections and then like obviously changed it to my brand and whatever. But like the actual information and what you can put in a welcome pack in it was so helpful to me. So
good.
but I like that idea of having a business but having other stuff to back it up.
Yeah, well, it all kind of happened in COVID with the workshops as well, actually. So in COVID, it was like I had time and I can't sit still. So I was like, you know, what can I do? And lots of people, you know, I shared my magazine before and lots of people were like, oh, that's amazing, because I send out a magazine to my clients when they book. And then I was like, well, why don't I make this accessible to people?
Yeah.
And then I did it in Photoshop first. So I gave people like a Photoshop template.
It's a task.
That is
big task. And InDesign as well. So I did those templates and then changed it to Canva because everyone loves Canva.
Canva's so much
It's
simpler,
so much easier.
My brochure's on InDesign.
Yeah.
And every time I go to edit it, I'm like, why is this on InDesign?
Yeah, every time I open InDesign now, I'm like, why? It's so complicated. And
It's
Canva's
such a
just
weird
so
bit of
easy.
software, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like,
it is.
who's using this? But I suppose it's like for the top end, like people who do that sort of thing.
I reckon
like,
all
the time.
graphic designers are on Canva now. I'm
Do you reckon?
convinced of it.
Yeah, it's so
100%.
simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
And easy to use.
You can
Yeah,
do
I've got a
everything.
friend who's a carpenter, believe it or not, and he texted me a few weeks ago and was like, "Oh, you know, I need to change my business for like directory listing reasons and stuff. I need to make a new logo and stuff. Like, do you know of any software?" I was like, literally go to Canva, and I think by the end of the week, like he'd had like a business card made, he had like all the stuff for like his website done, he'd made a new logo. He was like, it's really easy. I just picked some colours, I picked a font, and now I have a brand as well. And like this stuff to like a tradesperson, which is not really like any of their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He's made something which looks really good and is really easy to work with. And
Yeah.
I
It's
think,
becoming really accessible, isn't it? Yeah.
sorry to graphic designers out there.
Yeah. No shade. I think it's an important job, but
Not even mention generative AI.
Yeah.
And stuff. Do you do education, or do you do education within your workshops, or like?
So not within the workshops, because when you're planning like a big production, you're kind of art directing and also the photographer. So you've got to get images for everyone, and also you're setting up all of these different kind of models and situations and scenarios, managing all the suppliers on the day, making sure it all comes together. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'd love to include education in a workshop, but I feel like it would have to be on a much smaller scale. So like have a basic shoot with maybe just one couple and something simple, and then you can do like half the day as education and the other half as like, you know, showing the examples of like posing people or, you know, that kind of thing.
It sounds intense as it is. I'm pretty sure when I asked you about your last one, you were like, I don't know why I do it.
Every time before a workshop, I'm like, it's so stressful, I'm not doing it again. And then every time afterwards, you feel this like high of like, you've done it, the reward, and everyone's had like a good time, and you're like, yeah, I could do this again. Let's do it. And then you always end up booking another one straight from like finishing the other one. And then the process continues, and then you're like, I'm never doing it again. I'm getting so stressed out by it. But I do
that's
offer...
how every wedding season goes.
Yeah, literally.
Like, oh, do I really want to be doing this? And you're in the season, you're like, yeah, this is really good. And then editing season comes, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely. But I do offer mentoring for people, although that's kind of on pause at the moment, just because I've been so busy, and I kind of wanted this year to have a bit more balance in my work.
But
and
you still
life.
managed to do 2 styled workshops this year?
Yeah, only 2.
Technically, maybe not, because
Two
you
is
did
good.
the Snap one as well.
Oh, yeah,
Does that
I
count?
did.
So you did 2 of your own, plus
yeah.
that one for Snap.
Yeah, and I've done a few editorial shoots, but I've
And
actually
on top,
had
on top of a full wedding season, and that's a
Yeah.
quieter year
Yeah.
for you.
Well, yeah, compared to last year, it is, because I wanted so much more balance this year, because last year 70 weddings was not okay.
That is crazy.
And workshops and other things. And
that's a lot of weddings.
Yeah, headshots and all sorts. So this year I felt like, it's been a nice balance. I feel like it's not too...
I guess looking, sitting at the end of the year and looking back over it, you feel it's...
Yeah, it's actually crazy, because like the year goes so quickly, and sometimes I'm like, I've had a quieter year, you know, I feel like I haven't maybe done as much, you know, because every year you're kind of like, what am I going to push myself on this year and this year? But then when you look back, you're like, actually, I've done a lot this year. I feel like I'm happy. Like, you know, the snap shoot, the 2 workshops.
Because I was trying to work out to this morning when I was doing the notes for this, is when, because I went on your second style workshop another year, and I was trying to work out when that was.
June.
Was it June? I remember it being sunny.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it must have been at some point, but I felt like it was earlier in the year than that.
Yeah.
But no, so it was June. Anyway.
Yeah, it was June. I think I did one in March, then Snap was April, and then June I was actually quite quiet for weddings. So I was like, and I knew that I wanted to do 2 woods, and I knew I kind of wanted to have that long summer day, because I wanted us to hopefully get golden hour, and we got the best day. Yeah, we were so lucky with it.
Yeah, that's really cool, to be fair. Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to get you on before you go into workshops is that your brand. I find your brand like quite fascinating, and it's quite. I like the way that you can lean into something and be very specific, like carve out your type of couple. And we talk about this a lot, don't we, on the pod, about carving out your type of couple. And I feel like there's a lot, because there's so many photographers and even videographers coming in as well. There's quite like a generic theme now, isn't it? Like most people are either just I don't know how to describe it, but just standard candid wedding photography or really editorial. And there's not much like really like, I'm going to film this very specific type of wedding. Is there like something that made you want to do? Did you have that in mind the whole time, or is it like...
When I first started out, I was shooting everything.
Yeah, of course you do.
You do, you know, you find out then what you love. Oh, doorbell. Saved by the bell.
This happens every time. I swear you order something the day before to get a little break.
I can't remember where I was now.
So you started off shooting everything?
Started off shooting everything. And then I very quickly learned that the traditional wedding wasn't really for me. Like, it didn't suit my personality. And I felt like, you know, as much as I was doing the job, I loved it, and couples were happy. I felt like for me it wasn't fulfilling the creative kind of outlet I wanted to achieve. Yeah. So then I decided to kind of go, okay, there was like the alternative wedding market, and I kind of dipped my foot into that a little bit, and actually ran a competition really randomly in Rock and Roll Bride magazine. I used like the last £300 I had of my whole money and savings in the world, like
is that
9 or 10 years ago. Because you knew that was going to
be the sort of couple that you...
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to pinpoint. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted, but I definitely wanted to do less traditional, more alternative, kind of modern weddings. And then the whole kind of festival weddings became a kind of trend, and that kind of boho scene as well, which has kind of died down a little bit, but still a place for it. And I just kind of then really honed down on my brand about 5 or 6 years ago. You can kind of see the trajectory of like redesigning the logo, making my website feel quite modern, quite clean, still having that quirky fun element, and, you know, being kind of like hype woman on the wedding day, but also being able to shoot that candid, relaxed, lovely moments that people want, and not being too intrusive. So having that just really relaxed couple who love the modern, the fun, want to have fun on their wedding day, but also just want to have a nice chilled, relaxed day, right?
Rather than like quite uptight, traditional, like it's got to be a certain way. It's like a bit more relaxed, but also like wanting to have fun, that sort of thing, right?
Exactly,
And I feel like as well that your website does it really well. The work that you show really well is so inclusive. Like, I feel that people can see themselves in it, and I know we've spoke about it before. At the moment, this kind of wave of sort of luxury editorial stuff coming in that to kind of the normal people that would look at that and go, well, I'm not a size 6 bride that can wear a flowing gown or going to go to Lake Como. Yeah. But at the same time, you're not at the other end of extreme kind of alternative wedding where people aren't looking at your work going, oh, well, I haven't got a face tattoo, or I haven't got yellow hair, so she can't... Like, you kind of bring that fun out of people, or feel that people can still be themselves, or have something fun on their wedding day, but it still feel authentic, or they can still be them, if you mean. So it's really kind of welcoming and really inclusive to kind of... People look at it and go, that could be me, rather than I have to change who I am for my wedding day in order to book you.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. That's a huge compliment that you can kind of see that from my work. But inclusivity is a really big pillar of my brand. Like, it's something that I really strive towards in terms of like language, in terms of showing work from, you know, loads of different people, sizes, shapes, race, you know, anything, sexuality, all that kind of stuff. And I've still got loads to learn, you know. I feel like it's a constant journey with still trying to, you know, include kind of lots of diverse people. So like people do see themselves in my work. Yeah. And it's something that I think is really important, because I would hate for anyone who's wedding planning to stumble on like my work and be like, oh, well, you know, we're two gay men and we are just reading bride everywhere on your page and we feel like really excluded from this and feel like, you know, our wedding isn't anywhere that we can see ourselves in. So, you know, those kind of examples I think are really important.
Definitely. I think it's and like you touched on there, the language that you use, I think is got to be the first step for everybody. Like, obviously we can only shoot, which we'll get onto the style sheets in a minute, as kind of as a good way into that. You can only obviously show the weddings that you've been booked for. So if you have aspirations of, like I've said that this year, that I would love to photograph a non-binary couple, or I know someone else that shot a polyamorous wedding, and like that would be amazing. I think just to kind of see love, like in that, how that builds, or to see, you know, in a ceremony, that term of bride and groom not even being there at all. I think that would be really, really fascinating and something that I would really love to get into. But obviously until someone books me for that, I can't show that. So but to change the copy on your website to show a range of stuff, to show that even if you haven't got someone who identifies exactly as what you're showing, because you hit so many other areas, that people do feel welcomed. I feel
like people look for images that look like them, don't they, basically? I struggle with this because generally for the last few years I've been filming straight white couple, because I don't have that on my portfolio, so no one's really looking at my stuff like, oh, he's really inclusive, we'll go with him, basically. But again, we'll get into how workshops can maybe like help you with that. But yeah, I feel like people are going through people's website looking for, oh, they're a bit like us, maybe like they film weddings that are, you know, for people like us, sort of thing. And whether that's different cultures or whether that's fun or traditional, or people are looking for people who look like them, basically, aren't they? So, and I feel like you do, that's something that you do really well with your stuff, is it?
That we've said before, haven't we, is that a lot of our like brand guidelines or ideal clients, a lot of mine definitely are value led rather than based on aesthetic at all. And I think people can see those values or that instilled in, you know, you don't have to say, well, I'm a person of colour, you've only got white people on your website, that means you can't photograph for me. If they can see those values, that works across people of all sizes, sexualities, the rest of it is instilling those kind of, making a comfortable place for people to feel that they can approach you and they won't be judged, because sadly that does happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think even just having that wording, and sometimes even putting that you are inclusive and you're happy, you know, for all kinds of love on your website, can be just that thing that people go, oh,
which seems bonkers.
It seems mad.
It seems bonkers that you have to say that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel that everybody should be like that, but obviously people aren't. So that even just by pointing out the obvious, that I am accepting of everybody, can mean so much to those people and really make a difference.
100%.
Do you feel like, so I feel like our brands were pretty aligned. Like I was trying to sort of do the same thing that you were doing a little bit, in terms of like last year we went sort of hard on that. We're going to go for really fun, like upbeat couples. But because I guess I'm not like an extrovert or like, you know, really sort of energetic on the wedding day sort of thing. And I feel like you do attract the sort of people that you are as well. Like, I guess when you're talking to them on the consultation call and stuff like that, you sort of like attract people that are like you, if you know what I mean. So I was getting people who were very much my ideal client, but their weddings weren't necessarily going to be the big like party upbeat vibe that they thought it was going to be, that I was sort of looking for. But they still, how do I want to word this? So they would still want that sort of thing. So they'll go on my website and they'd be like, oh, I saw this video and it was really upbeat and it's like a 1 minute highlight. So for example, the one we did in Brighton, where it was like 2 to 3 hours of couple shoot. They had like, you know, Prosecco. They were willing to do pretty much anything like on that beach, like enjoying themselves. And I made a really sort of upbeat, like something completely different to make about a wedding. And then you'd get someone who's having a really traditional wedding coming to me and saying, oh, I want a video like that. And I'd be like, oh, I'm really confused now because I want to book you in, but I can't make a video like that if that's
the wedding has to be like that.
The wedding has to be like that. Do you ever feel like with the brand that you target, you get couples who maybe want your stuff, but you have to maybe push it a certain way, or do you?
It's a good question and a good point, because there are always, you know, you match with people's personalities, don't you? And I actually vibe a lot off of my couples, you know, so it's a two-way kind of street. You know, you kind of, most of my couples ironically say to me on our initial calls, we're not used to being in front of the camera, we're worried we're going to be really awkward. You know, we love fun and we love having fun with our friends, but essentially the couple portraits and stuff like that terrifies us, and we really don't feel like confident in front of the camera. And I think that's why a lot of people connect to my work, because it feels quite natural, it feels relaxed, and it feels like they feel like they could be comfortable. And I feel like my main job, not really taking the photos, but my main job is actually to make people feel comfortable, like they can relax and be themselves around me. And sometimes that's not necessarily like super upbeat and fun. Sometimes it's those more quieter moments that are really lovely. But I also, I mean, I don't spend long time on couple portraits. Give me 15, 20 minutes. Give me 15, 20 minutes and I'm done. I'm out the door. I'm like, we've got enough. That's cool.
Thank you.
No,
like
2 minute time over it.
Oh, a bit longer than that. Yeah, it's, again, 10 to 15 is about.
And I might do that 2 or 3 times in a day, to be fair. And if the couple want more, great, I'm up for it. But usually, for the most part, the way that I encourage fun is actually with all the people there on a wedding day. And I feel like, you know, whether that's doing like a wedding party and having fun with them, or having fun with your friends, or having fun with your family, you know, like there's loads of people, like brothers swearing at me in photos and like encouraging people to just be themselves and having fun. Music's a big part of that for me as well. I carry around a little speaker. So during the group shots, I often put on music, and that just encourages people to dance or be silly. So like I said, it's a two-way street, and I feel like there are some people who aren't necessarily like super extrovert and super outgoing and want like all of these like massive jumping, you know, massive shots where they're like running and jumping around, and that's really fine, extreme, you know. I like to have a range of different people, and kind of love my couples for that. So I think, as well as having a brand that I target certain people, I feel like as long as I'm making people feel comfortable and feel that themselves, and that they can see themselves in their photos and the memories, I think then we've done a good
100%.
job.
I feel like you just summed up exactly how I've felt this year. Is like, why am I like, I'm forcing myself into such a niche that when it comes to weddings that aren't that, I'm trying to make them that. And so this year we've really found that like we've got such a variety. We'll have one couple who like that no couple shoot, but they'll go out with their friends, and like we did one like a treehouse venue, and they just, after the speeches, they all went out with their friends from university and stuff, and just they start blowing bubbles for like probably like half an hour.
Honestly, drunk people and bubble machines are like a thing. I don't know why. It's just like people just love it.
But like it was such a unique and different kind of wedding, and afterwards like we got the most glowing review just saying like we had a different wedding and we felt like it was encapsulated perfectly. And I feel like that's like much more important than trying to force your like, photos need to be like this or videos need to be like this, is being like, how did they feel on the day? Can I replicate that in a certain way?
But it's like that, like you said, in your, when you were talking, Kirsty, that dynamic is different for everybody. Like you said, a lot of times you can vibe off your couples, and if they're really up for it, it can almost go, okay, I need to give more and do that. Where some couples will vibe off of each other, but then some couples will vibe off of their friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll feel most at home when they're surrounded by like their crew. Mm-hmm. And so, like I say, you might find that the couple shoot really is quite sort of more emotive or quite quiet. But once you bring those bridal party and groom's party out, that they're comfortable because they know where they fit in their friend group. And it's kind of, it's recognising kind of people's dynamics, isn't it? Like I know we spoke about on a couple of episodes, you really have, like, rely on bringing out those bride and groom people just up, before sunset. Because you've got some of your best work in
the bridesmaids and groomsmen.
In doing a bridal party shot.
Really focused on this year, and I was going to say that all of my favourite shots from this year are with the bride and groom, but with their bridesmaids and groomsmen, because they're all gelling off of each other. Like the couple shoot for me is like something that I feel like you just sort of you put in there. Yeah. Like you say, I spend a bit more time on it, but I feel like the most natural stuff, the time when they're most themselves, when they're surrounded by.
But I guess I can remember back to even just being photographed in generally, or how I felt at my wedding day is you never feel more exposed, I think, than when you're in a couple shoot, because it is literally just you. It's the two of you, and that where I think because it feels more familiar to be around either your family or even while you're doing something like giving a speech or doing, like you can kind of almost forget that camera's there. And even just by adding sort of another few people to the mix, I think that does really make a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all about energy and reading the room, I think, as well.
Yeah. I
So
feel
I
like
guess,
doing the bridesmaids and groomsmen thing before the couple shoot really helps them come out of their shell as well, and not just being like, we're going to drag you two away from everybody. And and that's what we spoke about in the previous podcast, was like in the summer now I've got a habit of after dinner being like, right, everyone, let's go and like go and enjoy ourselves somehow, or like encourage them to do something like with their bridesmaids and groomsmen, no matter what it is, just to like bring the energy back up and get them ready for like a nice sunset shoot or something. And I just feel like, anyway, we're getting on a tangent here.
We are, but it's all relevant.
This is how we do it.
Quite nicely. Like, all to say that, I feel that your brand is pretty nailed on to where you want to be. But then obviously that works really well in that, you have your brand as a photographer, but the style shoots that you make are pretty well aligned with your brand. The same way that we've said, there's a lot of companies out there offering workshops at the moment, which kind of be, taking you off to destination so you can get this destination content, or taking you to a really, venues that are normally unachievable in the couples that you book, so you can kind of get this really elevated content, where a lot of, I feel, the workshops that you put on allow people to make content which would be hopefully really achievable for them to book, but at the same time reaching maybe clients that they're struggling to get, that are really colourful or really vibrant. They might be stuck in doing, there's nothing wrong with that, like normal weddings, where to get a groom that wants to wear a purple suit is a stretch for them at the moment. So you're almost, you kind of used, like your workshop sits somewhere really nicely as well, in a place that they're not always about dragging somebody towards the luxury market. And in terms of inclusivity as well, having same-sex couples on there, or even just having a bridal party at a styled shoot. The amount of places that are literally just a bride or two brides in a white dress, and like the idea of there being a groom there, let alone two grooms, is unheard of. And I think that was one of the things that really pulled me to come into your workshop. One, I feel like I identify with your brand really well, but the fact that I wouldn't be going and just doing a bridal catalogue style shoot was one of the big things that really pulled me to it.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. That's kind of exactly what I wanted to do with the workshops. There are so many amazing workshops out there, there really are. And I felt like I just wanted to do something that felt a little bit different, more aligned to my brand, and also to help people show a bit more inclusivity. I mean, again, with the workshops, I've still got a long way to go. Having plus size couples or people there is something that I really want to try and do now, because it is a bit harder to get outfits, because lots of dress shops and dressmakers don't stock bigger sizes, which seems mad in this day and age.
It does seem crazy.
Seems absolutely mad.
Isn't it a stat? It's like the average size of a female in the UK is a size 16.
Yeah.
But try and go to a bridal shop and get a sample in that size.
Won't have
It's
sample,
impossible. Yeah, it's literally impossible for most places. There are a few people changing that, but I guess it's one of those things that I'm still, very aware of, but trying to just change the narrative a little bit, of not just having a same-sex couple who are really fit, like, I always want to work with real couples.
Who also are actually a couple.
Yeah, who are also actually a couple, so you can actually
so you
get
real
real
couples
I always work with real couples, because you get real chemistry, you get real kind of, Charlie and Dan, who I used, had never modelled before, so they're a genuine real couple who've never even been in front of the camera like that before. So it does, give people some real elements that they can learn from on a wedding day, as well as getting inclusive, diverse content.
Yeah, because if it's a real couple who have never been on camera before, that's pretty much what you're dealing with on a wedding day anyway. So exactly. I guess it also trains you to to pose them without making them feel uncomfortable and stuff like that. Whereas if it's a model couple, not only there's probably certain limitations, I don't know, but there's also the thing of they know what they're doing anyway, so they'll probably just do most of the work for you and take that away
from the shoot that I went to and yours. Like, Cindy was great. Like, she was so good. But in some ways, you could more or less put her in her amazing frock in front of the backdrop and the flowers and just go, do your thing.
Yeah,
And she was, popping and posing with the click of the camera. And it was like you were in a studio in London doing her thing. And I got some amazing content and we had some great fun. But then when you go, your time with that person's up, and then you move on to say like Dan and Charlie, who look at you and go, what do we do? You learn as a photographer far more from that. And I think that's something else that I've put in the notes, is one of the really good things. I think a lot of people look to go to styled shoots because they want to walk, all they can see is that end content of, I want this amazing content which looks like the stuff that I've seen on Insta, it's going to allow me to get this. Where as a wedding photographer, to a degree, you don't get any practice days. Like if you're a footballer, you play friendlies or you train, and we can train our kit and I'm going to focus on this, and my dog running around the front room so I know how to use back button focus. but how often do you actually get a couple that are there for your sole property to try and get something from them? And there's those little prompts and ways and things that you find, which you will definitely take to a wedding day, and that's just as valuable as the images that you walk away with.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, what I love about workshops is seeing everyone's different approach and how they work, and you learn off other people as well as, you know, putting yourself kind of in the, okay, what do I want to do? Because actually on a wedding day, we're serving our clients and our couples, you know, we're capturing the day the way they want it, the way they've planned it. So actually having that creative outlet to be like, oh, what do I want to do with this couple? Is something that's great, and you can really learn a lot from yourself and from other people.
Yeah. And I felt that when I went to your workshop, because it was the first time that I'd ever been to. I'd done styled shoots like for venues or for dress designers, but I'd never been to like a portfolio builder, if you like, where there was like 8 other photographers there. And at certain points you are kind of having your turn, or there is like a wall of photographers trying to photograph the same thing. And I remember there being a point towards the end when we had the couple with the car, and there was like everybody kind of stood over there doing this, and I was just at the side, and someone said to me, oh, you're not going to shoot this? And I'm like, well, no, because I wouldn't shoot it like that. So what's the point of me just taking the frames? And then, but I felt okay to do that. I didn't feel like I had to be with everybody else, or that you'd made a space where you can go, well, what do you want to do then? It wasn't very much like, you know, we've got these 3 kind of sets, if you like. The person stands in front of it, and then you do all walk away with the same images. There were, or I felt that you made a space where I was comfortable enough to say, no, I don't want to shoot that, or I could import my own ideas, because maybe there wasn't that educational element of, this is how I photograph. Everybody take this photo now. It wasn't like that. There was the freedom to experiment, I think, was there.
Yeah, I like to make sure that everyone feels like they've had their own turn, because I think also a lot of times what happens in workshops is sometimes people get kind of led by one person, or one person sets something up and then everyone goes, oh, I want that. Or some people who maybe aren't as confident go, oh, I don't want that, but actually I want to do something else, but I feel like I can't speak up because everyone else is doing that.
I didn't want to come across like a dick and be like, I'm
you
shooting
weren't.
that, I'm shooting that, like, I do that. Like, there's a nice bit of light over there, can we just move instead? And it's not feeling like, well, this is not my workshop. I kind of on a wedding day, I just go, oh, we're going there, because you're leading, where you're not in that aspect, but it's feeling comfortable enough to speak up and say that, isn't it?
I found it really interesting, Tom, that when you went to this, and then you like, I saw some of the photos and stuff, and I was like, so, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it was the sort of weddings that you film was at those. Do you know what I mean?
I felt like it lent into a part of the photography that I like, that I feel like I don't make at weddings. Like when I first started to want to be a photographer, I wanted to be a fashion photographer.
Did you?
And I did. That's what I always wanted to do. If you go into my office, most of the books on my bookcases are fashion books. And I love that idea of that. I worked in it a little bit, got fed up with the waiting around, got fed up with the falseness of it. And then the more documentary stuff that I did, the more I fell in love with that. But there's still a part of me that really loves the idea of shooting stuff, which is quite editorial. But I don't feel like the stuff that I like editorially would ever fit with the documentary stuff I do at a wedding. So in some ways, to kind of have the chance to make that without having to book a couple that are really looking for that and change kind of wedding Tom to then go and be like fashion Tom, there was a chance to do that. Or also just like we said, practice, that there was when I feel like, you know, so where I am, I'm not kind of, but I'm still 10 years into my business and I've built a brand which hopefully people can recognise with. So when they book me to shoot their wedding, they're looking for a certain thing. And if I go, oh, we're going to do this now, and then try and set something up which is really different to that, they've not booked me for that. Where going to a styled shoot, it gives you that opportunity that I don't have to be my wedding style anymore.
To flex a muscle that just, it's not quite at a wedding
and it really
day.
Did. It really did.
Yeah. But to be quite honest, when I said to Tom, like, you're not using any of these photos, like, why have you paid the money? Like, what are you gaining from it? And like you pretty much said the same thing to me. Like, it's a good opportunity just to take like photos I wouldn't normally take. Took his Leica along, you took the drone along, and stuff, and just
different things that I wouldn't.
And that's the main reason I love doing them, is to have that creative outlet. I mean, yes, you can use the content to market for your wedding business, but mainly I just love feeling that creative outlet of just being like, oh, I love doing this shoot, and that's why I got Cindy, and why I usually have like a kind of editorial style, because I love that element of fashion and playfulness and having that different kind of, not necessarily wedding related, but just something creative to be able to enjoy. And that's why I always try and do something that is a little bit quirky and is a little bit different from weddings, because then you get both. I know that I have had some feedback that has said, oh, actually that's not really relevant for our wedding business, but I'm really glad that you felt like you liked that creative outlet to just do something
different. I think it depends what you go to a style shoot and you're looking to get out of. I was just looking for a great experience. and to kind of, like you say, scratch an itch of that I don't feel like I satisfy at weddings. By the time I got there, I think there was, out of the probably 12 people that were there, I only probably didn't know like 3 of them. So it wasn't even from like a massive networking point of view. All the people that did come were people that I really love. So it was nice to spend the day and hang out with them. But it wasn't even that I was new to the industry and looking to make new industry friends. But yeah, just I wanted to go, feel kind of creative and inspired, and just get and have a nice experience from it. Well, if you are someone maybe at the beginning of your business going, I need to redo my website and I want to make images that look like yours or look much more colourful or get to these places, I guess you'd probably go for very different reasons that I would. So maybe you would have a different experience from it. But that I can only talk from the reason that I went and would go again.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll always have both elements. So there'll always be a wedding side and there'll always be kind of a fun, quirkier side. So
there's crossover.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how did you sort of start doing this? Did you start doing it because you identified a need to like, you know, target a certain couple and you were like, this is how I'm going to do it by creating my own workshops, or did you go to others that
I've been to other workshops before, and I think I've also done a lot of styled shoots, just me shooting and then working with other suppliers. So when I did a few in London when I lived in London, and then I moved to Hampshire 4 or 5 years ago, and I was just contacting venues and being like, oh, I'd love to shoot your venue, like let me know if you ever want to do a styled shoot. And then the barn at Avington, Beth from the barn, she was quite a new venue at that point, and she's like, we love doing styled shoots. And I put on this really big Wes Anderson styled shoot, which was really cool at the time. Obviously I love Wes Anderson, like amazing director, and like love everything about him and his work. But that kind of sparked a real kind of creative fire in my belly after that. I think we did that in like, I don't know, 2018 maybe.
Oh, wow. But the style shoot market was probably a very different place then to where it is now. I feel like post-COVID it's a very different place.
Very different place. And then during COVID was when I decided to do the actual workshops, because, you know, I just wanted to shoot. I wanted to be creative. And then I thought, you know, the first one was super small. It was in Shoreditch. It was literally outside because we couldn't do anywhere inside because of COVID. And it was very informal. I was like, who wants to shoot with me and just chip in some money? We'll pay for some models, some nice flowers, whatever, and just have some creative fun. And I just loved it. I just loved everything about it. I loved, you know, the community, the people, the creative outlet, the fun we had. And then I just thought, I could do this again. And then it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, you're learning all the time with these things. Like the one in London was super ambitious that I did in March, probably too ambitious. Have you seen the film Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. You should watch it. It's a great film, but it was mental. Yeah. It was absolutely mental.
It's a chaotic film.
It's chaos. And I feel like that was what that shoot was. So then at Two Woods Estate, I was like, right, I need to learn from that and tone that down. Maybe not have 10 models in one day.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Because we did a whole wedding party, and I wanted to make sure that I covered, like, made sure it was diverse as well. So I didn't just want like 2 bridesmaids looking really sexy. I wanted like a proper wedding party where people could see themselves being in that wedding party, you know. So you know, 10 models one day.
But even just logistically,
logistically,
like, sometimes you don't even talk to another supplier. Even just trying to manage contacts of getting 10 models into London. And you know, and clothes that fit them and getting them through makeup.
Getting them through hair and makeup and getting them dressed.
That was a hell of a day.
It was, it was a lot. So then I was like, okay, I need to learn from this and like kind of take some elements, slow it down a little bit, make sure people have enough time and breaks between as well. Because on a wedding day, and like my energy is very much like go, 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 go. And I don't think everyone necessarily is like that, especially when you're in a new environment, you're trying to be creative, you're trying to do things. So then I was like, let's slow it down a little bit and give people some time and breaks between stuff, which I think I managed to achieve a bit better at Two Woods, and also had a few less people as well, which always helps.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that sounds like it was definitely hard to organise the London one. Like, So but you now know, like, as you go through and organise these things, you sort of, like you say, you learn what works and what is perhaps a bit more difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
But it might be you just need someone else on board to organise it with you if you do stuff like that. Like,
you kind of need, I feel like with the workshops, I'm like the creative director, the coordinator, and the photographer, and leading the workshop. So you're kind of like pulled in all different places.
And do you even get the creativity after that? Because you've you've exhausted so much attention on trying to get it all sorted, do you even get a chance to take the photos yourself as such? Or
yeah, I do, weirdly.
Yeah,
I feel like there's always stuff even after wedding days. I'm like, I wish I did that, I wish I'd got this, or I wish I'd done that a little bit differently. So you kind of always think of those things, but at the same time I'm always super happy with everything. And the main thing is everyone else has a good time and gets what they want. Obviously my wants are a secondary thing, but I feel like the workshops I do are kind of like my project babies, and like it's exactly how I want to do things.
Like, you're a photographer at your core though, and I knew that if I'd put the effort that I could see on the day that you'd put into, building a mood board, getting other suppliers, hand-picking suppliers to share that vision with you, finding the models and the rest of it, if I'd have got there today and then watched everybody else, I would kill do you know what I mean? I'd be so disappointed if I was watching everybody else's pop up and go, I made this, and I didn't even take anything of myself. That was my baby, and I didn't even get to take anything myself to edit on and go, I really like that. I think if you are a photographer at your core, you can't create something of that level and not want to take a picture of it.
That's the thing.
I can't even make a dinner without taking a picture of it, let alone make a style shoot.
So part of me is like, maybe I should just be the creative director and not shoot. But then I'm like, no,
defeat the point,
I can't. I can't. I have to shoot. And I do. And actually I really enjoy it. And I really enjoy seeing other people's work. Like, there's something really fulfilling about seeing someone smash it and go, that's amazing. Or I love that you did that. Or, just seeing other people's edits or approach. I love that kind of thing. I really don't go, I wish I'd done that. Damn, kind of thing, I'm always like, I love that.
I feel like with people who shoot weddings, like we're creatives at heart, right? But at a wedding, there's only a certain amount of creativity because there's a lot of limitation, right? Yeah. And I think that definitely brings out the best in people, because I think limitation is good for trying to be creative, because then people perform better when they've got boundaries.
Especially for the times you've got. If you had endless time to create, or endless things, if you just change this, it'd be better.
Like a 2-hour couple shoot, you won't get more value than a 15-minute couple shoot, because you're not getting much more out of that, basically. So it is good that people can go out and be a bit more creative. You do need to flex that creative muscle sometimes, because I feel like the people that get really fatigued and stuff are the people that haven't had a chance to go out and create something different in a while, and they're doing the same thing over and over because they've been confined into these boundaries for so long. Going out and being like, I'm going to try using this. Like, Tom, you took your Leica to the showcase that Kirsty did.
I did.
The thing that Kirsty did. And then you mentioned to me the other day that you might start shooting with a Leica at weddings, and that's
is a possible. I broke out the camera at my last wedding, so I'm 2 down this year now.
That's 2 in 1 year.
I'm at a crossroads. Obviously, I'm at the end of the year, one wedding to shoot. I've got a little bit of time before the season really kicks off for me. But to make an investment like that, obviously to go into, I'd want to give it some sort of practice, and knowing whether that is possible to use at a wedding, and to take it to a styled shoot and have a look at some files that come out of it and go, well, how does it respond to that environment? Was a good exercise. Because if I'd take it to a wedding, I'd have been that guy then with 3 cameras, and then felt, well, if it didn't have worked, there's parts of the day that I'd had to double shoot to make sure that I did have it on the Sonys and stuff. So
it's another way, like you said, to experiment with testing out different kit, like the drone that you used and shooting video. I think that was the first time you shot video.
Shot video on the drone.
That was amazing.
So when you take these photos, when you post them on socials, would you make clear that it was from a styled? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I do see a lot of people doing clearly styled shoots, and that it's just not mentioned anywhere, and it's like, well, if don't mention anything, don't mention it's a wedding, but also don't mention that it's styled. And it's kind of like, do you think is that cheating, or is it?
I just think it's not honest. It's not an honest approach, because obviously at a styled shoot you do have usually models or people who are used to being in front of a camera. You've got all the time, you've got a stylist usually laying out flat lays and nice tables, and you've got florists doing these amazing kind of creations.
It's got the best of everything and time to make it work.
Exactly. So it's not reflective of a real wedding day. There are obviously elements that you can show, like I could do this at a wedding day.
It's still your photo, isn't it?
It's still your photo and what you've created, but I think at the same time it's always worth being honest and saying this was a shoot. or, you know, usually I just say, I love this shoot or this workshop, I'm really proud of it, I'm really proud of the images.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always try and make it really clear and credit everyone involved and say that, you know, this is something that's not a real wedding.
Yeah,
because
definitely,
it's just, you know, I feel like you're not being honest then with your clients or couples who come to you expecting those kind of results. You've got to really manage expectations.
Do you
know?
find that it's different now, though, in that you're creating your own styled shoots against going to other people's? Do you know what I mean? Like if I was a client looking at your work, I would say, oh, wow, that's still Kirsty's vision because she created all of that. Where if you're looking at someone that goes, oh, I've just been to, you know, such and such's workshop, they're still very much a turn up, and that's their photo, and they've edited it, but something that's been curated in a different way. Do you think it's kind of different now, though, that you're... Like, do you think your clients see it differently now that you're the boss, if you like, you're making those style shoots? So that is almost a window that they can line up with your vision even more, because they know that you had the ability to create anything that you wanted and you created that.
Yeah.
So it's almost a window into your head even more.
I mean, yeah, it's a valid point. I definitely think some of my couples take inspiration from it. And, you know, there's definitely been some people who have been like, I love that colour palette of the florals you did on that shoot. I'm going to do that for my wedding kind of thing, which is great. But also to kind of circle back to, I don't do other workshops. I still actually go to other workshops. So I don't just organise my own. Because I love that creative outlet, and I still, you know, I don't have to plan and spend hours and hours on mood boards and getting models and all that kind of stuff. I can just rock up and shoot, which is fun in itself, and that creative outlet that I need. Not everyone needs that, but I love, you know, studying photography and art. I always love having creative projects, and, you know, that just freedom to just rock up, shoot some pretty photos, and then experiment and do what I want.
Because the same, because like you say, you bring that word art in, and I the same. I did a fine art photography degree, so I think there's still that element of kind of the way that you learn, or the way that you kind of build visions and stuff. I wonder if that's instilled in us in the way that we've been like taught, I guess, or the way that we've learned photography or grown as photographers. Where I wonder if you're someone maybe that's self-taught and come in, or have spent, you know, the way that we poured over photography books or studied photography in terms of that Instagram did that for them. I wonder if they see things in the same way.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to know if anyone who does come through that way and wants to comment and weigh in on the conversation.
I'd love to know.
I'd be really
you must get a bit more value from your own ones, because I think that's what I got from what you just said then, Tom, is like you've created it, it's your vision, so it's like it's gonna be your brand. Whereas I guess if you went to another one, you probably know by now what you're going to, but like sometimes you rock up and it's maybe a bit too editorial for you or things like that. So I guess you get more value if you do it yourself, if you make it yourself.
Yes and no, you do and don't. Like I said, you know, if I go to someone else's workshop, it might not necessarily be bang on brand, but I can still have a creative process and outlet, and I'll probably still share the images and have some lovely photos of stuff that I still want to do, because I'll still, you know, jump in and direct and have an idea of something. So it still kind of focuses on my brand of like fun and happy and that kind of stuff, rather than like serious.
As
long
as you get involved and make it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what you make it basically.
Make it kind of fit your own kind of brand and goals.
And I think, like you said, morally, I think if you're a photographer that's starting out, styled shoots are a perfect way to get a variety of images in your portfolio. I just think you need to be honest with your couples.
This is what I mean. There's definitely a balance.
There's always going to be that with everything. In the same way that people rob people's images, or people that do lots of second shooting, then market those weddings as their own. I feel like that's equally as big a problem as people going to a styled shoot. Like the fact that it's not a real wedding, it's not always the same thing. Is like you're not showing, you know, your ability on their wedding day, and you're almost showing a version of that, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's definitely worth just managing clients' expectations, especially if they see like a shoot you've shot, I don't know, at some like bougie manor house or like some grand staircase, and they're getting married in, you know, like a village hall or something, you know. It's not going to look the same.
Yeah.
So although, you know, you can like show what you can do, it's important to manage those expectations and be like, that was a curated styled shoot, and yes, I can do stuff like that, but at the same time your images probably aren't going to look like that.
Same,
But also at the end of the day, we're in a visual industry, all of us, whether you're photoing or filming, and to go and see something which is wildly over the top or like aesthetically the best that you get it. Like there was a art workshop a while where they had like a curtain of tiny little origami birds. And I saw some images from it, and I'm like, that's incredible. Like someone's made like thousands of origami birds, and there was a bride like arms through it, and it was amazing. Like and maybe there might be someone out there that has that for their wedding.
That's cool. Yeah.
But as a creative, whether you're a wedding photographer or just someone that paid to go to the workshop, you would still have great fun
to
making images in that. And I'm not sure that there would be a couple out there that get married in a village hall that go, oh, I really want that, or would book you solely because you took that. Because of all the things that we've said about your work in the first place, they can see themselves in it. And maybe even if you can't see yourselves in that though, it's still just damn cool, and it's nice to them to know that you value yourself enough as a creative that you're not just sitting on your laurels going, this is what I shoot and this is what I am always going to shoot. That you're still enjoying the process of being a photographer, that you want to experiment with other things.
Yeah, you know, that's such a good point actually, because a few of my couples who've kind of commented on the styled shoots say, you know, I love that you do this for yourself and have this creative like flair. I love seeing what you put together and what you do. I love seeing that inside your brain, and it's probably not what they're going to choose for their wedding necessarily,
but it's like a Pinterest board for their wedding.
But also it's just like seeing that you're passionate.
Yeah.
I think is like really
infectious.
encouraging. Yeah, I think so.
Like, would you want someone to come to your wedding and just look at their little group and go, next, or be the guy like you were talking about earlier who goes up to the couple during their first dance to go, well, it's actually 8 o'clock now and I'm finished. Bye. Like it shows that you've still got that level of enthusiasm, or like I say, just passion about your craft and your industry, that even though that you're still running a successful and healthy business, photographing couples that are paying you money, you still want to take some of that money and create something else.
But also couples do look at your stuff when they after the picture and sort of take inspiration from it, don't they? Like I've had couples before being like, oh, I like this from your video, like how do we get around doing that? Like I had a couple who really wanted like a Prosecco pop. I know it's like the trend now, but like they only wanted it because they saw it in one of our videos. And like, there's little things that are like you've deliberately done that because you enjoy that, and then people are looking at it, oh, maybe we should do something like that, or maybe we should, you know, go a bit more colourful with our flowers. I don't know, something like that. So it's taking
you're almost giving them a green light that they can, because
your Instagram is a Pinterest board for them.
And all that we've said, you know, that couples on couple shoots, are reserved. A lot of people will do that, and especially when their soundboards for their wedding are their mum or their friend, and they go, oh, well, I'm thinking of having like purple and orange flowers, and they go, no, you can't do that, and they'll go, oh, all right. But then if they can go, well, look at this, and there's a picture of like of someone that's literally gone like bright orange and purple, and it looks amazing. It's easier to go, yeah, we can do that. It can, you know, you're making those kind of catalogue images that, you know, when you sit and you look through the brochure or you scroll on ASOS to buy a new jacket. Like, I don't like the guy that wears that jacket, but I want to be. So it's showing you that that's how it looks, isn't it? And your Instagram can be the same.
To be fair, when I was organising my own wedding, like I was on Google Images, clearly looking at styled shoots, figuring out what I was going to wear and things like that. So even down to little details like that, if you're inspired by someone, you can go onto their Instagram and be like, oh, I like these people and what they do and the kind of people that they're filming or photographing. Maybe I'd, you know, take inspiration from what they're wearing and like the sort of wedding they're having, sort of thing. So I think that's really handy. I just think that sometimes it does get like, I'll see videographers like, oh, look at this amazing elopement I shot in this country, and it's like, was that an elopement? Because they're looking too much like models to be an elopement. And I just sometimes, maybe it's just me being skeptical, but I don't know, it's far too styled.
And then when you see other photographers sharing the same thing,
and
you're like, oh, that wasn't just you doing that, was it?
Yeah, exactly. In the end, that almost exposes you even more. Like, for example, if we said,
but the couple's not going to say that, so
probably
but
not.
You say that though. But let's say, like, I went to your workshop, and to say a handful of others that I know went to your workshop. And as much as it was lovely for me to look at the images they made and go, oh, that looks really different to mine, the rest of it, if I put that as the front image on my website and so did they, you think that when that couple that are looking to book a similar type of wedding photographer, that go type in Hampshire wedding photographer, if they open 4 websites and the same model in the same backdrop is the first image on all of our websites, they're not going to go, what's going on here?
Yeah, you've definitely got to be clever with it, I guess, if that's what you're going to do.
And if the other 3 are going, well, this is a style shoot, I was really proud of this, and the other one's going, look at this lovely wedding that I photographed, they're gonna call bullshit on it, aren't they?
But I feel like to lie like that is pointless anyway, because
would you put that person after you know that they're a liar?
It's like you say, you've made that content. Saying it's not real doesn't make it any less impressive that you've made this incredible like content with a couple of models.
It's still an amazing thing, and it's probably an amazing photograph, and you should be proud of it. But don't be dishonest.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, then let's have a little bit about video.
Yes.
So would you ever do anything for video and photo, or for video? Is that something that you've thought about? before?
So it's a really interesting topic because I have had a couple of videographers come to my workshops. There weren't any on the Two Woods estate one, but the London one I had a duo, so photo video team, and then another videographer. Well, a photographer who wanted to kind of do video. So
Because you get that, it's a great way to learn, isn't it?
Like, she purely just did video, and she was like, it's great. The only kind of slight issue is I think videographers need a little bit longer. So it's managing the time to make sure that they get enough of what they want.
We were talking about this, weren't we?
I think it's quite difficult to then plan around, okay, do you market it for both and then have like one group that's purely videography and then one group who's purely photography? So then you kind of get, okay, the videographers can have their time and the photographers can have their time.
You know, for kind of a clarity, if you've not been to a workshop, I know that when I went to yours, there were, say, like 12 of us, 3 looks, so that naturally makes sort of 3 groups of 4. You get an allotted time with that look or couple, and then it's kind of, you ring the bell, all change, and you move around one. So everybody gets, or your group, if you like, gets equal time with each look. So I guess that would make sense, is to put the videographers together, not only from a making friends and networking point of view, but then they would know to not just step in front of that, or to get, you get your time to do that shot and I get mine to do that. And so
all working together and saying, okay, we're going to do this walk.
We're both going to do one.
We were just talking about this the other day, weren't we? 4 videographers like walking backwards while a couple walks towards them, sort of thing.
Like, you see that at a style shoot, there's like a wall of 6 people all stood there with their cameras. It would be that just moving.
But just with
moving. Imagine like 6 drones up in the air all trying to get the central shot.
Yeah, it's like a queue of drones. You fall to the back of the queue once you've got your shot.
Have like a little kind of runway and then right next.
But it would take more time, and we've spoken about this. We spoke about this the other day. Is that like, if it was video specific, you'd almost have to have less people there, which means that effort would. I mean, they'd have to pay more. Do you know what I mean, to make it worth it? And I feel like it does probably make it difficult if you're trying to make it either a fusion of both, or like you said, there's ways to do it. Like if you had one you sort of shot planned over here and one shot planned over here, then you could just sort of swap groups. But I feel like with video it does take a bit longer and there's a bit more.
I do also think though, in terms of like content and video now, you can do just shorter clips, so you wouldn't necessarily need to do a full-length video from that kind of workshop.
A reel would be enough from something like that.
Exactly. You'd probably like having
reel.
like a couple of vertical reels and experimenting with like short 15-second video clips or something probably would be beneficial for marketing and experimenting.
Definitely.
And I guess for some of the shoots, like obviously like your videos have narrative at a wedding, because there is a day and a journey. Like, how do you give narrative to a style shoot, because there's not a ceremony.
This is my problem.
There's not speeches. So in some ways you are making, in the same way that your photographers make kind of this pinnacle of, most of what we shoot at a style shoot, you don't fake speeches, and I don't understand they're taking fake reaction shots of the model, like speaking, or I know some maybe do have fake ceremonies, but that's not maybe what people go for. I guess it is a videographer, you'd be looking at the same thing. Most of it would be couple led or kind of moment-led champagne pops, confetti kind of experiences.
That's the thing. That's why I struggle to relate to these workshops, is that I feel like, especially with our brand, it's like we say to couples that we're not bothered about like what's on your tables or what where your dress is from or how many flowers you've got. Like, we're there to capture you, your friends and your family. And like, if I then go out and just spend loads of money on just getting a glorified couple shoot, then I don't see how that's gonna help
your business.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, like you can have fun with it and enjoy it and flex creative muscles, and that maybe that's a good enough reason to do it on its own. But I feel like, I mean, even if I post a reel, it's often not like just a couple or something. And there's a lot of videographers out there who would really appreciate like a extended period of time with a couple who would really appreciate one of these workshops. But I feel like for our brand in particular, like I would be sort of going against myself if I said, I prefer candids and do all this stuff, and then rocked up and filmed like just loads of table decorations and then a couple and then made a thing out of it, a reel out of it. So
I mean, totally. If it doesn't align with your brand and your values and you wouldn't get anything out of it, then why would you?
Yeah.
I guess.
But at the same time, when you were mentioning like that you did the thing in London and there was like bridesmaids and groomsmen and stuff, I feel like there is something to that. I was saying to you the other day, like, you'd almost need a room just full of like people, just full of extras that you could like almost set up to make it look like it was a nice little candid sort of reception drinks or something.
Just facilitate a party for people. And
or like an intimate.
Well, I imagine that must happen. If you get people that are DJs, like I know DJs that have had promo film shot you don't know that whether that dance for that wedding is going to be good. So if they can say to, you know, a bunch of people, look, I'm just going to hire a venue, I'm going to play some music. If I come along, ply you with alcohol, and you come in, as long as you're going to dance for me, and then bring you in to make a video, I guess that's no different, is it? Or
but at the same time, I think the flexibility of someone going to one of these, a videographer going to one of these workshops and being like, okay, now I have time to go in, because often as a videographer, often we're photographer led, right? So the couples care much more about their couple photos than they would do for video. So the way I do it is sort of let the photographer do some of it, and then I'll step in and change things, like, oh, we'll stay in that pose but just have a chat or something, like something that maybe, or just have a walk this way or something. I feel like you kind of, as a videographer, you need to do that really quickly so the photographer can get back to doing their thing often. Not all the time, but often. But having then the flexibility to be like, oh, it's because I've paid for this, like it's actually now, let's take a turn and do something, and not have to worry about, oh, the couple needs to get back, I know the photographer wants to go around the corner and do this. So,
or if you were new to video and you had no confidence or ability to pose a couple, like you knew what you wanted your film to look like but didn't know how to get the people in those positions, and it was too easy on a real wedding day to just let the photographer do his thing and you shoot over his shoulder. Again, in order to learn those skills, if you're used to working with photographers that just shout you down or go, well, follow my lead, and you don't get that chance, how are you ever going to learn those skills, where to be given, say, half an hour with 3 different people on a day to actually go, no, I can do this? Or, for example, if you say, oh, we're going to do a champagne spray, we did one at your thing. If normally you're in your head of, I need to capture this, I have to capture this, I can't knock this one shot at it, thing. So you naturally revert to a wider lens and do that.
Safe as possible.
Where you might say, oh, do you know what? That might look really cool if I shot that on a 200mm from miles away. So all you see is like the champagne rolling down in fall off and their expressions.
Or just not even get the couple in the shot, just do something like
to do that on a real wedding day, because you're making it for them and they want to see themselves. It's almost it's opening that option that. If you know, we went through 6 bottles?
Yeah, something like that.
Because one just didn't spray, then one sprayed and the wind took it in the wrong direction. But we had time to do 6 champagne sprays, literally one after the other.
It's
not just
so you
haven't got the woman from the venue looking at you tapping her watch because they should have been to dinner, and you're still there going, well, we need to get this champagne spray done. And
there's definitely space for it. I think it would work. I just think it needs to apply to the person's brand as well, and like I say, it's hard because I love like the couple shoot and that all those sort of bits like that, but again, like if I just posted a reel of it, I don't think it's gonna it would get me anywhere. I think none of my couples are looking at my couple shoot. They were looking at, oh, actually, there's a shot of like that person's like friends and family having a chat and stuff. Because when I ask people on the consultation call, why are you booking me for? It's always, oh, because I saw more candidates in your films than anybody else's, basically. So I feel like it's hard to justify. However, having said that, like you say, having the creative outlet to just be like, oh, maybe, you know, because for me, I struggle with, on the couple shoot, I struggle with safety. Like I'm trying to get safe shots. I'm like, okay, I need a shot of this, I need a shot of this. And so I forget to get like little small things that I see other videographers get, like, oh, there's like he's naturally put his hand there, so maybe you should get a shot of the hand. I forget that on a wedding day because I'm just trying to get faces and wides and trying to make sure I've got the safe
But don't you think that's half of it though, is a lot of some of the most bold or obscure or beautiful creative shots, most people see them. But most people aren't brave enough to take them because they're taking their eye away from the obvious. To pick up the obscure. Definitely. And so in that moment, you've either got to be confident that you can get both, or brave enough to go, well, there's enough there which I'm confident that I'll love it, they'll love it, and it will work. Because if it doesn't, I've got nothing. And on a wedding day, you might not take that risk. You might not have it in you to go, I'm just going to try. Or on the style shoot,
I sort of work on a basis of on a wedding day, like if it's like quite time constrained, I'll get the safe stuff first and then worry about anything creative later. If you've got time. Like if you go into a dinner room and there's like loads of detail, I'm getting the wide shot first just to make sure I've got a shot of it, just to make sure. But then I might not get time to get the actual nice details on there. But like you say, if you have the confidence to just be like, right, this is actually so much more better than the wide shot anyway, because often the wide shot is there's not much personality to it.
I've had times this year where I haven't done one. If I've gone in at the wrong time and there's people still laying out the bread rolls or this and that, unless that room as a whole room is stunning, I've found that I've just gone in and found the table in the best light because a lot of the centerpieces are repeatable and just done the best shot of that table, the bride and groom's name tags, a couple of little detail bits, and that more or less be it. Because I don't feel enough that I need to clear the room.
That's interesting. I don't usually clear a room, but like Chris, I will get the safe shot of the whole room just so I have
just to make sure.
Just to make sure. There might be like someone in it or whatever, but I'll just get it.
90% of the time, people probably don't care, do they?
No, they probably would never use that photo.
If you framed it up and go, well, it doesn't look great anyway.
Yeah.
I just kind of what's the point?
You still get anywhere just to make sure. Although I guess
maybe I've just become more selfish this year.
That's not a bad thing.
Do you know? I feel like that.
No, you just know what your couples
edited the wedding the other day, and there's a lot more probably like arty close in bits or like hand touches or things like that. And I kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe that's just what speaks to me more. Maybe this year I've just gone, well, do you know what? I'm going to get that rather than.
But you know what your couples value.
Just what everybody expects you to get.
Yeah, like I know sort of what your couples are like because it's quite similar to mine, and they're like similar to mine. They don't care what like the big branded dress and the massive like really showy stuff, is it? It's more about the people and stuff like that. And so if you're not going in there and being like, this is an incredible sort of dinner setup, that's not something they're focused on, so why are they going to want this big wide picture of it? Like, it doesn't matter as much.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And I think also, thoughts also just come into my head as well when we were talking about the idea of video going to that. As a spanner in the works, do you think that you're going to start to see content creators appear at your style shoots?
True.
Like, if you're someone that wants to be a content creator, you've got to convince someone to take a chance on you going to your wedding with your phone and getting stuff. Yeah. Where if someone could come to a styled shoot and go, oh, we're going to have a confetti toss, we're going to have this, and they could put together a reel.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that
They're still a person with a camera at their aren't they?
Very likely.
Like a style shoot would be a great place for someone who wants to be a content creator to go.
Or maybe other content creators are going to set up workshops for other content creators, and then it's like another thing.
Yeah, and that lead won't be on enticing in photographers. They won't be led around a model. It'll be much more led around a moment, and and you'll go from doing lots of confetti, lots of this, lots of that, and those things almost you are providing. So you're giving yourself, which essentially is all we're doing as photographers, is giving ourselves a wealth of content away from our real weddings.
Maybe that's an expansion opportunity. Maybe next time you do one,
watch
have videographers
this space.
there, content creators there, and
videographers, everything. Everyone's welcome.
But do you think that in the world that we live now, and the way that social is, though, that when you put on a workshop, like you had people doing behind the scenes, but I guess you need that, don't you? It's like
God, I can do that.
that you need people to go and do that, and it definitely happened that we were there. But in order for you to show it, as well as show the images that you made, to show for the suppliers as well, them doing their thing and stuff, you need that element of like behind the scenes, don't you?
Yeah. So the last one at Two Woods, I actually just got someone to purely do behind the scenes video and photos, just on the mobile phone. And it's one of those crazy things where I don't really do it at weddings, but obviously there are some weddings where I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, I'm going to get my phone out and film it, which seems crazy. But it's like people engage with that more than the photos sometimes, because they love seeing that little snippet that feels really real. Rather than the polished professional photo.
We've spoken about content creators at length, and we had a brief conversation at the character party the other night about second shooters, didn't we? And no, despise is a wrong word. What's the right word to use? Not wanting to use them, shall I say?
Yeah.
But I would almost rather that. If I had somebody, I would rather hire a content creator for me to come to a wedding for me, and not only capture the moments, but then me working, because I do find it a real hard work, or I haven't wired my brain that way yet to go, oh, this is going off, like this needs to happen, and my logic is to pick my camera up and shoot it,
of course,
not to have my phone at the same time.
I mean, essentially that's what we're paid to do, right? Well, so you feel really weird pulling your phone out going, I'm going to shoot this and get video from my phone.
Look, my first thought is always to get that moment for your client.
I've had a guest go, well, you've got a camera in your hand, why are you putting your phone out? And it's like, but then I also social media, so
I have a lot of fun at weddings and make some really lovely connections, not only with brides and grooms, but with guests. And I'm not afraid to get involved or play games with them or to, help people and do stuff. And that stuff is kind of marketable. So if I did have like a little person who was content creating for me,
a little person,
like just someone to follow me. It sounds really vain, doesn't it?
It's a tiny one. You just need camera bag,
like a person to come out and like film me being nice, but just doing what I do at a wedding. Because if you like when I'm on my calls or speak to people, like the actual pressing of a button and the taking the pictures bit, that's what they've hired me. But if you ask me where the value in a pie chart of the value of taking photos on their wedding day, it's probably not even a quarter. It's that, and we spoke about this before, a lot of my reviews are like, oh, you made me feel really comfortable. Oh, you were a lifesaver. You knew how to take my veil in and out. And they not to pay me $2,500 to take their veil in and out on their wedding day, but they really appreciated that in that moment. And if you could have someone content creating or capturing those moments for you, it's almost ways that you can then show people, like, I do all this stuff as well as take you nice photos.
At least half of it for you guys is like how you present yourselves on the wedding day, right? And that you just can't get that across through Instagram a lot of the time. Yeah, I know a guy who sticks a 360 camera on top of his camera and goes around and I think so. And then he like does voiceover on it afterwards, but he includes some of the natural audio of him directing and stuff, and I feel like that's really good. And he comes across as like really genuine, down to like, if I was a couple, I'd be wanting to book him because I already know that he's not shouting at people on the day and stuff like that. And also, that's really good. His stuff's really good, isn't it?
Yeah. But predominantly, like I speak for myself, is we're all image makers. So like my language, if you like, or the best way to explain stuff to people is show them or take a picture of them.
Yeah.
I write copy. I'm okay at writing captions for my Instagram, but it's not where I excel at all. And I still think there's a hard way of writing going, I'm really good. Do you know what I mean? I'm just a really nice person and really helpful. You can't say that stuff just without coming across like really insincere or just a bit of a dick.
And I think also, even if you do write that stuff down,
I don't believe you.
People don't necessarily consume it or react to it in the same way as seeing it physically.
But to watch a heartwarming video of you, like we had an instance this year where like the venue was up 4 steps and like Granny was in a wheelchair. So like me and then like the cousin literally lifted the wheelchair and got Granny into the ceremony. Like, and I don't want to do it just so it's like an opportunity for me to put my cape on and feel like I'm a hero. But it's stuff like that which does add general value to a day. And I did it because I was the person there and wanted to get Granny into the ceremony.
Yeah.
But then it almost makes you feel a little bit dirty, feeling that you go, well, I want I want someone to film me doing this.
Yeah. But
it's like the millionaire in the soup kitchen on Christmas Day. Do you know what I mean? He was only there for 10 minutes for someone to take a photo of him and then went back to his mansion.
Yeah.
But it's that idea, isn't it? But that is solid marketable stuff beyond your portfolio.
Definitely.
I like that. I worked with a content creator last month, and we were a bit like, we didn't know that they were going to be there until like the final questionnaire came in, and it's a content creator with like says 2 photographers, 2 videographers, and a content creator. So we like in the pre-wedding questionnaire, we said to the couple like, what is this content creator getting? We never worked with one before. We were open to the idea. I think the idea is quality of a content creator wedding personally, but we're open to the idea. We just don't want to be treading on toes, and we don't want to we want to make sure that we're capturing everything we still want to capture and whatever. So they sent her our details, and this content creator sent us a load of reviews that she'd got from photographers and videographers saying like, actually this person really helped us like set up shots, and like she was basically like the bridesmaid, do it like fluffing the dress and everything so that we could just step back and do our thing. And that was actually really handy to have those sort of reviews from other people saying that it wasn't about none of it was about what she captured. It was all just about what she was doing on the day to help the other people that were working, and also like the bride getting in the dress and things like that. She did everything.
So it's more like B-roll rather than actually directing. So the content she was creating wasn't like for TikTok or anything like that. It was more just it was like a typical content creator stuff. Like she'd come along the couple shoot and like be filming that. She'd film like little clips of the ceremony, like the vows and stuff like that. But the main, what she was like, if you don't feel comfortable or if you're not sure how to work, like how content creators work, have a look at these reviews that I've got from photographers and videographers saying that actually it wasn't so much of a hindrance. It was actually a help, because it helped, like, you didn't have to focus on like, is there certain parts of the dress that are dirty or whatever, because she would step in and change everything and move everything around and do all the detail stuff, so that the photographer could be like, that's it, I just need to take the photo now, sort of thing. So
which is mad, because I always imagine like, and again I don't have TikTok, but you see like these kind of like pre-rehearsed like set pieces where like the bridesmaids like transform and stuff like on the beat of a music. And I just like have like a vision of being like looking at my watch and the venue being there like, we need to go to register our meeting now, and the content creator being, well no, we're doing the voulez-vous, and like, oh no, they, and this bridesmaid can't stamp her foot at the right time, so we're on the 8th take or whatever. And us being like, well, I've not even got a bridal portrait yet. The videographer just looking, I haven't got nothing either.
That's exactly my take on it as well.
And that was kind of what I feared, is that on my job sheet, like my brief says that she wants this TikTok, and that's my job, so that's what we're doing. Like that's.
No, I think it obviously depends on who you get, because some will be a bit more intrusive, but I think the idea, people love it, like, and having, like you said earlier, the more natural stuff that's not like really super set up and stuff is what people want. Just the, you know, when I've been to a wedding as a photographer before, so I've done a couple of weddings where I've done photos, I've said to guests like, oh, do you want a photo together? And like, no mate, we'll do it on a phone, it's fine. It's like, well, like you could, but it's just more authentic, it just feels better. And I feel like she went home and posted a reel about it, and I also posted a reel about it. She got like 4 or 5 times more engagement than I did, and like it's crazy, like, because that's what people like to see now. Yeah.
For all the things that we've said about building a brand, being inclusive, making people feel comfortable, is that we work really hard on that as well as our galleries. And I feel sad that I make such good relationships with these people, spend 12 hours with them on the best day of their lives, and then wave at them and don't see them again unless they go to another wedding or you bump into them or whatever. And almost like, I had like some lovely suppliers at my wedding, but they're never in the photos. And some people, you know, some couples do go, oh, can we get a photo of you? And you do. But to have that like content creation, and we spoke about it at the start, like you were saying, I hate being in my own films. Like if I couldn't be stood on a B cam somewhere else because I'd be in my own film, and I still find it really kind of odd if I pop up in a videographer's video.
Yeah, I hate when I'm on a video.
I don't like it in the back of my set. Like, it feels really odd.
Some of them do it already now. Some videographers.
So you don't do it.
Really?
Yeah, some videographers will film the photographer doing the like guest shots and stuff like that from behind, like, or like directing
and include it in
put that in. Yeah, you're in.
I'm in Josh's film. Yeah, doing the same thing because I was better with someone and do that.
It's
but almost to have a content creator then, so the couple can look back at the finished article that we created, but also go, oh, do you know what? That Kirsty was lovely. She made me feel so, and she can see you going, come on, like hyping them through their confetti and stuff.
Yeah, true.
And that they might want that,
yeah,
but they still want the finished bit. But to have the content creators version of seeing that behind the scenes is valuable for you as a business person, but for them as a couple,
it's just a really nice
memory.
to
kind of that peek behind the curtain of a nice memory of you making them feel that way.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I'm all for it, to be fair. I feel like more memories the better. And I think it's a really interesting time as well, the way people are consuming content, and it's changing. Like you said, you know, the content creators, like behind the scenes on an iPhone gets like loads of views, whereas your polished, beautifully crafted video is like, oh yeah, that's
cool. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's another wedding video.
Yeah.
You feel like we're walking on a knife edge though, where you have people wanting the peek behind the scenes at everything. And then at the same time, there's this wave of luxury, perfection and stuff coming through. And there's loads of people that want that. And it's almost like they want something which are such stark opposites to each other.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
all at the same time.
Maybe that's why editorial stuff is coming in. Because, I mean, a lot of people can pick up their phone now, get a good portrait mode shot, cinematic mode, log on their phones or whatever. But what comes in handy for the editorial stuff is your ability to pose someone, and certain things you can't or would struggle to do with phones, like all the shutter speed tricks and things like that.
Can't do a blurry shot on iPhone.
I feel like so it's either you're here in editorial or you're doing it on the phone, and like that's the trend, the current trends basically. Not that's what you should be, but like it's like you say, it's on knife edge. It's like you go one way or the other sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting. But that's completely off topic. But
I feel like we have full circled through style shoots and everything in between.
I've learned a lot about workshops. I'm quite I'll definitely.
Do you feel that you would go to one now for someone that's never been to one?
I think so, but I think I would have to know that it had some elements of movement to it as well. I wouldn't go if it was just like, this is a style shoot for photographers. I would go if there was like, videographers are welcome, you can get involved, you can do some stuff.
So you need to be almost to be clear going into it that you would be welcomed as
that. There are
that's a really interesting point actually, because I feel like for the next one I do, because there will be a next one because I've already booked it. More details in the new year, but
this is the new year.
I feel like, oh yeah, we're in 2024. I feel like I should say, videographers welcome, because actually I could manage that and make it, a group for videographers. If I get like 4 or 5 of them join, then that's something that I could manage. And it's interesting to know from your point of view that that's what you'd probably need to be like, oh, this is something that I could fit with my brand or make work. Yeah,
just to know that we've been thought about in the process of organising it, I guess, is a big thing. It's like a lot of videographers will want to go to events, but it'll be like, oh, this photographer's speaking, this photographer's speaking. It's like, will we get anything out of it?
Yeah, is it actually relevant for video? Yeah.
But I feel like, if anything, I feel like it could be useful just to get a bit of experience being the lead in doing stuff. Because like I say, like I do take charge a little bit during a couple of shoots sometimes, but it's never really. And I feel like a lot of videographers are the more like step back and let the photographer do things maybe because that's the way they are, a bit more candid, or maybe because they don't have the confidence to go in and direct and things. Maybe doing something like that will give them a bit more confidence to direct because they've had the time and space to do it in a controlled environment, sort of thing. So I think there's definitely space for it in video. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, hopefully now that people have come on and listened to you talk about Starred Shoots, that when you do announce that next one, that there will be a raft of videographers that have listened to this, or just in general that feel that they could come. So do you want to tell everybody where they can find you, so that when you do announce that, they know where to come?
Yes, probably Instagram's the best place. So it's just my name, Kirsty Mackenzie Photography.
Amazing.
Kirsty with a Y.
We can link you in the descriptions. We can put links to your site and to your Instagram.
We'll put links in all of the descriptions.
So you can do that. And I think all I have to say is thank you so much for being our first guest. It's been a really
amazing
good episode. I've really
awesome.
enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure to pop my podcast cherry with you.
We're privileged for it to be us as well. So
it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
It's been a really good episode. I think we've set the standard high for first episode of the year as well, and for guest episodes. So be a good one.
All right, sweet. We'll catch you next one then.
Bye.